Today's focus is the down phase of labor. So your body is open and your baby is really working their way down. You're coming into that pushing phase. So we're thinking of downward energy, that expulsive pushing downwards and out. Now we're going to look at the angle of the knees and the femurs specifically. So how we can open the outlet of the pelvis, the bottom part of the pelvis. We can make a lot more space for baby to be born. So we're going to start today in a tabletop position. Now we spend a lot of time in tabletop preparing for the up phase of labor. And we have our knees nice and wide usually during that bit. So for the down phase, we're going to take it slightly differently, and depending on how big baby is at this point, maybe it's still comfortable for you to have the knees really close together and the ankles are wide, but maybe we need a little bit more space there. Either way is absolutely fine, but we want to have the ankles outwards. So notice the difference between knees wide and big toes together for the inlet, the up phase, opening the inlet of the pelvis, and knees in and ankles out for the down phase, opening the outlet of the pelvis. Now, if we feel comfortable here, we're going to bring one hand to the lower back, to that bony structure of the pelvis. And with one of your legs, just lift the leg and bring it back to the midline of the body. And just notice what you feel here. And notice what the pelvis structure, the pelvic structure is doing. Notice how much you are able to expand and open into that space. It is one of the reasons we have so much relaxing in our bodies when we're pregnant, so that we can encourage this structure to move, to soften, to create that space for your growing baby, but then for birthing your baby too. If you feel comfortable there, you can bring that hand down. It can be quite helpful to close the eyes. And what I want you to think about is softening those legs and just thinking about that pelvic structure and noticing how we are expanding and opening into that space. And then keeping that leg wide, we're going to swap sides. And straight away, just asking yourself, are there any differences on this side? It's not your everyday normal movement pattern. So noticing how it feels and spending some time practicing being in this position, but also just these gentle toe taps to encourage the pelvic structure and remind it that it's safe to open in this way. And then we're going to move both of the feet at the same time. So gently lifting, bringing them back. So we're encouraging the pelvis to be a bit more narrow here. And then the opening. Closing down the eyes, working with the breath. And then when the ankles are wide, I really want you to soften into the pelvic floor and core space here. So it can be really helpful to work with the expulsion of the uterus and those contractions. So as we take a breath in, we're going to draw the body forwards. And as we exhale, I want you to practice that down breath. So we're pushing that energy down and out. Inhale forwards. Soften the jaw. One more. And then just see if in this position, we can drop down to the forearms. And we're kind of taking a modified puppy pose here, but with the ankles still out. If that's not comfortable at all, you can just bring them in. But I want you to try to work with the breath and to soften into this space. So when we connect to the breath and we lean into that intensity, we are preparing the body for the intensity of our surges, of our contractions. Just because something is uncomfortable doesn't mean that we can't work with it. Maybe with that exhalation you could sink the glutes a little bit further back. Or maybe the forearms come further forwards and the forehead can come down. Finding heaviness, finding comfort. One more breath here. And then bringing yourself back up into that tabletop position. Bringing the feet in from the edges of the mat. And then just wiggling out the hips. You can keep the toes tucked or the feet untucked. Whatever feels best for your body after keeping it in that position. Gently wiggling the hips from side to side. And we're just going to start to think about a little bit of asymmetry here. So tucking the toes under, sending the glutes high, and then pedaling out those heels, finding that space into your downward facing dog. And then we're going to step the right foot forwards, lower that back knee down. And then from here, bring both hands onto the inside of that foot and wiggle that foot out to the side. We're just going to gently encourage that knee to find a little bit of heaviness and then draw it back in. So we're cueing on those adductors, the inside muscles of the thigh. We're working the smaller, more supporting muscles of the pelvis here. One more here. And then we've got a couple of choices here. We're going to take it back into a high plank or into a tabletop if you know for any reason you shouldn't be coming into high plank, or if it just doesn't feel very comfortable anymore. If it does, tuck that toe under, step it back, squeezing through the core, and then take the glutes towards the sky. Encouraging those heels down, pedaling them out. And stepping forwards with the left leg. Lower that knee. And then wiggle that foot out to the side. And just gently dropping that knee out and bringing it back. So as we know, birth is not a symmetrical event. So preparing the pelvis for asymmetry is really important. We tend to get stuck in the sagittal plane of movement during our everyday lives. That's seated, standing, walking forwards, lying down. So offering these lovely variations to the pelvis will be really beneficial for your body and for your baby. Last time. And then stepping that knee back. We're going to take those knees nice and wide, bringing it into our extended child's pose to rest.